Friends, thank you for watching my channel. I just want to remind you, if you need wallpaper, go to www.wallpaperboulevard.com. Tell them Spencer sent you. In fact, if you use my hashtag, Spencer Colgan is wallpaper, they'll be sure to give you 10% off at your checkout. No matter how much you order, they have a wide selection of wallpaper. Check it out. Tell them I said hello and enjoy your discount. Hey, this is Spencer Colgan and welcome back to Spencer Colgan is Wallpaper. Splicing wallpaper. Sometimes you have a 10-foot sheet of wallpaper, but you only have 9 feet left to the roll. It becomes impractical to waste 9 feet of wallpaper just to have a full sheet. So you may want to pick your areas where you might splice your wallpaper strategically. In other words, something behind a mirror, perhaps behind a couch, or you might be so good at it that no one can see that you've spliced the material. Ideally, that's what you want. You want to be able to say, find my splice. But I can tell you this, if you're going to splice material, that is, that you take 2 sheets of wallpaper, you overlap them and cut through the overlap, making sure before you cut that the pattern has been perfectly matched up on the underlap with the overlap. When you cut through it, you shouldn't see any differential in pattern if ideally you've cut directly over the wallpaper, meaning that your overlap and your underlap are identical. Let me show you what I mean. Let's say you had the bottom missing here by about 6-7 inches. You took this, you put it over this, it matched up perfectly with this, but then you had to cut through it so that you could fill in the void. Well, can I tell you, that's exactly what we have going on right now. I hung a long sheet of paper and I came up 5 inches short, as you can see there. So anyway, on my channel, you've seen me use the typical 9mm blade, the black blade. They're very effective in doing my splices. However, I'm dealing with an imitation cork. Let me just show you how stubborn the material is. You can get a sense, right? This stuff does not play around. It's very thick. And so when you're dealing with a thick wallpaper, when you splice it, you want to use the thinnest blade possible. Because whenever you slice through this stuff, it's like slicing through a cake. You see where the knife went, no matter what you do. Let me get a single edge blade, which I highly recommend to you who watch my channel, to make your splice cuts, particularly on thick material. Now, the manner in which you splice your material depends largely on the pattern. Remember, that's where our overlap edge is. This is going to be scrap. And would you agree that I have it perfectly on top of the pattern? Would you agree? In other words, you see this little U here? If you look under it, you'll see the same thing, right? I mean, that doesn't mean it's perfectly over it, but it's pretty close, right? But you want to be perfect, because the more perfect you are, the more unnoticeable will be your splice. Sometimes I get gutsy, I challenge myself. I put my splices sometimes in the most conspicuous areas to force myself to be perfect. I don't want some customer saying, hey, what happened here? But you know what? You save a customer $100 on a roll of wallpaper, they're gonna love you. But let me just suggest this to you. Never reveal where your splice is. Now, this is where artistic license comes in. I guarantee you that Every artist who ever drew a painting, ever painted a painting, was not happy with the final result. Those of us who do finishing work are perfectionists, and we notice every flaw in our work, while the layman's eye doesn't notice it. And consequently, we tend to walk away from every job with a little disappointment. If I'm speaking to any professionals right now, he or she knows exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so here's our single edge blade, brand new. So we're looking for pattern. We want to cut along the pattern, right? Now, I will just say that real cork is very difficult to splice. I've done it, but I've also failed with a particular cork from York Wallpaper. But I've spliced through other cork and I was successful. But this is imitation cork. Cork tends to be, you can splice through it and then you'll see that these things are little pieces that are glued on to a backing. And if you cut it too close to the edge of one of these little pieces, it all falls out like this, for example. But this is imitation. I'm not talking about this wall covering. I'm talking about the real thing. So don't think you can splice through every wallpaper. I don't think that that's possible based on my experience. Now, ideally, I want to go like this. Look, cut around here. You see, there's a lot of pattern in which I can hide my splice. Okay, let's try it. Now, last advice. Make sure you're pressing hard enough, okay? Here we go. I'm coming down to this curve. La-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee. All right. This goes in the garbage now. We don't reuse. Now, let's see. I didn't like the piece that I was working with, so I decided to make the splice higher. What I suggest to anybody going to do a splice is that you give the material time to soak, okay? It's very important that the material through which you're going to cut is soaked. Here's why. You don't want it expanding after you splice it. So what do you want to do? You want to give it the same amount of soak time, the same conditions as the material right under it, okay? Now this is a paste the wall product. So I put the paste underneath my wallpaper. Okay. Okay, so this is what we're looking at, right? Now we only have to pay attention to our perimeter. Our perimeter. Where is our perimeter? Well, right here. Okay, you see that little triangle? You see how nicely it meets up? Oh, you want to get very, very close to this. Okay? Look how perfectly that meets up, right? But that doesn't mean it's perfect everywhere, so you got to make it perfect. See that little piece? Can come over a hair, right? So it's very important that you push, pull, the whole 9 yards. And you never want to be, your line always has to be together. See, if it's not, you've overworked the material, you know? So you want to push it back within the boundaries of the seams. You see how the seams are? Let's check out left side, okay? I'm concerned about this. Look at that. Look at the perfection. So you're looking at the V here. Isn't that a V? Almost like one, right? Right? See that? And you do the same throughout. So we're matched up all around here. Guess what? We're matched up in here. You see this thing? We can assume safely that we're right over that. Okay? Now you can see the reason why I didn't want to throw that sheet of wallpaper out. You're looking at 9 feet of wallpaper. So I decided to splice it. Now, if you're not good at splicing, don't do this until you get good. And then do it when you can. Now, I do want to say you cannot splice every single wallpaper. Certain cork wallpaper cannot be spliced. Most grass cloths cannot be spliced, but some can, but most can't. You'll see recently I did a video on slatted grass cloth. It was in sections, little half-inch slats. You could splice that. So that's our splice. Okay, so test your material to see if it's spliceable, because not every wallpaper is. Okay, so I want to make sure that I wipe it down so that when I do my cut, I'm not dealing with all gooey mess of paste all over the place. Okay, I got my single edge ready to go. All right, and last thing I want to do is to make sure that there's nothing going to happen when I do my splice. I want to make sure that I'm over wallpaper. You can easily forget that you don't have wallpaper underneath it. You can forget where your underlap ends. Okay. No, that's not what happened earlier in the video. Although it has happened to me. I just didn't like the way the cut came out. Remember I said with cork how it kind of partitions itself off? Well, even though this is imitation, it just wasn't right. I couldn't make the seam right. So I left that part in the video to let you enjoy the pertinent parts that were good. I don't do much of any editing today. It takes too much time. And my fingers are wet. So there's my edge. Again, I want to kind of drag it through the pattern so that it's not that noticeable. Now, only use the tip of the edge. You don't want to go off track. My face felt some resistance there. We'll see what that was. You don't want to start doing this. Here's why. You're tunneling through the material. Just the tip. Let's see how I did. I'm already worried. Okay, so what do you think? See, I hate pulling this whole thing off because it fits perfectly right now, but once you remove this, it kind of you knock it out of whack. So I'm a bit of a fanatic. So did I push hard enough? That's the thing, you want to be able to say you pushed hard enough through the material, you know? Because if you don't, let me just say, I did not push hard enough through it. See how I have the backing? But I still got the slice. I sliced through it, but that's why I used a single edge blade to avoid that problem. Okay, no problem. Now let's try to get this piece back up. Look how nicely it's pasted. I really like the way it looked. Spencer, why don't you have a helper? You want me to be honest? You find somebody today who wants to work and take orders. You know what I have to say to you? Good luck. Good luck. When I was a kid, every kid on the block had a job by the time the kid was 16. You know why? Your mother would say, go buy it yourself. Ma, I need jeans. Go buy them yourself. Go buy them. You know? And so, you had to go get a job. My parents had 8 kids. There was no, I need this, I need that. You didn't even ask, because you were tired of hearing no. So instead of moaning about it, you went out and got a job. Here's the first cut that I made, lower, check it out. Okay, I was reluctant or cautious to say that I was successful, but I'll say it now. This was a success. Okay, but you know. So the point of the video is the blade that you use is very important. Very important. See that? Okay. We're still not done. Use the fat of your hand to bring the seams together. Not your fingers. Your fingers put tunnels in the paste underneath the paper. So use the fat of your hand. See that? This way you get a broader compression on the material, and it just works it in easier. See that? Yeah. Let's make a happy tree here. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna clean that up and I'm gonna call it done. So now you can inspect and you can judge. Find the splice, people. Can you find it? If you like the video, please click on like and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching. Spencer Colgan is Wallpaper.